All right, we're watching it too here at CBS News 24/7. Right off the top, another dismal day watching the Dow. We're looking at real-time reaction to President Donald Trump's delivery on promises he made to voters about tariffs. You can see the Dow down in negative territory, more than 400. Trump raised those stakes this morning by announcing new tariffs on steel and aluminum that comes into the United States out of Canada. The president says those taxes could reach as high as 50% and will go into effect tomorrow. So we've got CBS News team coverage for you today. CBS News political director Finn Gomez. He has reaction from the White House. But first, CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady. Kelly, the markets again offer headlines that we really don't want to see, especially that big slide once again after Mr. Trump posted that on social media. I'm seeing a lot of people worried about a word that starts with R, recession. What are you seeing?
Yeah, that R word that we never like to hear. So look, I mean, the slide yesterday and some of it going into today is spurred by the fact that the president did not deny that we could go into a recession. He said, it's a period of transition, if you will. I do want to emphasize the data does not say we are in a recession. We still have a relatively healthy job market, an unemployment rate at 4.1%. That being said, we are seeing signs that are potential on-ramp, and I want to say that very lightly. We are seeing consumer spending drop. We're seeing consumer confidence drop. And so the fear with these tariffs is if you have prices increase or even the threat of a trade war, it does impact consumer sentiment. A lot of people have anxiety when you see these headlines. And what do? They maybe spend less. And then businesses don't do as well. And then that's something that could push you into a recession ultimately. But I just do want to emphasize the data doesn't say we're there yet. And also, Reed, I've told you this many times, the market is not the economy. So how investors are feeling and what they're predicting does not actually always reflect what the economic fundamentals are.
Good to know. Kelly, stay with us because I want to bring in CBS News political director Finn Gomez right now. Trump listed a number of demands in that social media post. Walk us through that. Is this a done deal or does this need to come from an executive order?
Look, in that social media post, we saw that he is essentially, this is in response, as you know, Reed, to the Ontario Premier saying that he would increase essentially his own reciprocal tariffs on that electricity that goes through those northern states. And I think what we're seeing right now is very Trumpian, Reed. He's hitting back in his own way and applying this tactical measure to really not back down against our neighbor to the north by implementing this increase to 50% on aluminum and steel. But it's something that, it has, as you stated, has rattled the markets, has made investors skittish, as Kelly was just talking about. And I think this may not be the end of it, So look, later today, he's speaking to business leaders. Many of those business leaders supported him, of course, in the 2024 election. His main theme, as you know, one of his main themes was fixing the economy, making it better, making the markets better, if you will. And politically, what are the effects here? How much damage does this cause as we see these big movements of fluidity in the market and volatility in the market? So I think that right now, I think it's sort of a wait and see approach to see what he does next. But if it's a tit for tat, I think you could expect more of that from the president and his administration as we go forward with this.
Well, and I think, Finn, arguably what we can expect is in decades to come, classes will study this intersection of politics and the economy. I want to ask Kelly another question. Kelly, we saw a big slide in the market after Trump sent that social media post. Are we seeing another round of panic among investors as a result?
Potentially. I think there's so much uncertainty when it comes to what's going to happen next. I mean, we were expecting a 25% tariff on all aluminum and steel, including that coming from Canada tomorrow. And now all of a sudden it's 50% from Canada. But I think also, you're seeing investors flow that through. What does that mean for the consumer? And I'll just sort of highlight three different things. One, it could mean higher prices for things like home building, for things like cars. If you have higher prices, that could mean less business for businesses and for companies. And so that's sort of in the minds of investors. The second thing is when you flow those aluminum tariffs through to manufacturers who are buying these products in order to manufacture products, tariffs are supposed to increase domestic manufacturing, but then their costs go up, which is also problematic as you sort of flow that through when they sell their products to businesses. And then finally, I want to emphasize a point that Finn made. This tit for tat, this 50% tariff that we are getting likely tomorrow on Canada on aluminum steel is in response to what the Ontario Premier Doug Ford did when it came to an export tax on electricity. And so in theory, you might see the Ontario Premier hit back again, raise that export tax, or he has even threatened to shut off electricity altogether to the states. I believe it's New York, Michigan, and Minnesota that get electricity from Ontario. So you sort of put all of these things together, it means higher prices potentially for consumers, for businesses, and so much uncertainty. And that is why the market is just going like this right now, Reed.
Right. They like to know how to plan. And if I'm in one of those three states and looking at my light switch, I'm hoping the lights stay on. Kelly, I have another question for Finn, and this is the last question for you, Finn. The president will be speaking at a business roundtable. It's a quarterly meeting today. What are you watching for there, given the headlines?
Frankly, his first real public comments that we've seen on not only on what's happening in Wall Street, but the impact of tariffs and this ongoing trade war that we're currently in the midst of. We have seen a flurry of his social media posts overnight, over 100 since I think in a 24-hour period or less, including his vowing to buy a Tesla from in support of Elon Musk. We'll see if he does that today, as he said he was going to do. But I think it's really like what his first real comments that we have heard since over the weekend, where this really kicked off since his interview with Fox over not ruling out a possible, as Kelly said, that R word recession. And I think that I think you've seen all this market volatility that we've seen, and I think it stems from that. So I think perhaps some efforts to calm consumers and efforts to calm the markets, but we'll see what he says. Again, he's doing this surrounded by business leaders who supported him and supported his platforms going into the November election of last year. Is there some buyer's remorse, or is there some patience that we're going to be seeing from those same business leaders and the industries that they represent that have been taking hits on Wall Street over the last 24-hour period that we've seen this drastic slide? Reed?
Well, and Finn, I'm thinking about what several Democrats said after the election, saying they feel like Republicans could very well have overplayed their hand. No doubt Democrats are watching this to see opportunities where they can maybe get a play in or two.
No, absolutely right. I actually spoke to a senior congressional Democratic lawmaker just yesterday who said that, that obviously they share the concern of what's happening on the economic front, but on the political side, they see an opening for them if this continues. There's been a lot that has been said about the lack of unity. You saw that sort of division during the joint address last week and how they responded to the president's address. But now this has been a message that they sort of coalesced around, is pointing to that, and maybe utilizing the very famous phrase from the Clinton era, it's the economy, stupid. And I think that's something that you may be hearing more from that side of the aisle, Reed, as this continues. And then, of course, the Trump administration telling us this is merely just, a blip or to have patience, that that they're righting a ship that was incorrectly navigated over the last 4 years by the Biden administration.
Question is, will it work? Our thanks to Finn Gomez, and also for Kelly O'Grady, who is watching this right now. You see there behind me on that monitor.